And as we continue with our series of lessons on It's All in Your Mind, we are covering various topics or parts 1, parts 2, parts 3, going forward on this theme. The theme is It's All in Your Mind. The topic for part 1, for the first lesson in this series, was Sickness is Not Real. The following week, part 2, the topic was What is Mind? And so tonight's topic, part 3, is Mind is Spiritual Matter. Mind is spiritual matter. But it's important for me to explain to you that while this is our working topic, spiritual matter is not all that mind is. It will require several and more lessons. And even after that, you won't know all of that mind is. What our goal here is to not expect to learn what mind is, but more so what mind is like, because we cannot know all that mind is. Keep that in mind. We have to begin there to end up in the right place. Now I will share with you a handout for tonight. If you do not have the handout, if it's not accessible to you, it's not necessary to have it in order to understand the lesson or to follow along. But it's just a convenience. It's just a tool that you can use later to study. It's All in the Mind, part 3. Mind is spiritual matter is the topic for tonight. It's the main idea. These teachings are based on the teachings of the Quimby manuscripts. Phineas Parkhurst Quimby is known to be the father of metaphysics or New Thought in America, and also a book that Ervin Seale wrote as a commentary on the Quimby manuscripts. And the title of his book is Mingling Minds, Mingling, Mingling Minds. So I will be excerpting from these 2 works throughout this series. What I have written here is that we begin by explaining the goal and aim of lesson 3, tonight's lesson, which is Mind is Spiritual Matter, under the theme, It's All in Your Mind. Lesson 1 was Sickness is Not Real. Lesson 2 was, What is mind? You will comprehend the goal and aim of lesson 3 by threading together the main ideas of lessons 1 and 2 to see why it is necessary to understand that mind is spiritual matter. And this is because all of the following lessons, the ideas rest on this foundational concept of mind is spiritual matter. So put your thinking caps on, make some mental notes, and then next week, if I asked you what is mind and you say mind is spiritual matter, well, in part, you're right, but that is not all that mind is. And I can admit that I have long held an intellectual or academic understanding of what this that we're teaching and this that we're learning about. But I have not had a clear spiritual understanding of what Quimby means when he says it is all in your mind. I haven't had that clear spiritual understanding to my ultimate satisfaction, while at the same time, if I was given a test to pass on receiving credentials or certifications or whatever to be this level of professionalism or ministry or whatever, I would pass it with flying colors because I know the book backwards and forwards or the books backwards and forwards, but that's knowing by the head, the intellect, and academic understanding. But explaining this next fact could appear to be a deviation from the topic that I'm about to go into now. It could appear to be deviating from this topic, what is spiritual matter. But to teach a subject effectively, my way of doing it is to know when and how to insert a parenthetical explanation and clarification that bridges a continuous series of connecting principles toward a conclusion in the subject to be learned. Now, what I just said, explaining it or breaking it down, what I am saying is that while the topic is mind is spiritual matter, and it's the third topic in the series, and then we'll go on to the following topics next week and the next week and the next after, it is important for me to pause from time to time to interject, to insert an important fact in learning spiritual teachings. And I'm going to remind you of what that fact is tonight. Explaining this fact could appear to be deviating from the topic, but to teach a subject effectively is to know when and how to insert this parenthetical explanation and clarification. So I frequently remind you that this stuff is caught, not taught. And therefore, this fact that I'm talking about inserting or presenting as a parenthetical thought is an insight that helps bring you more into this element of this stuff is caught, not taught, and helping you to catch what I am conveying in terms of understanding that mind is spiritual matter. So therefore, it is important for me to do this. I have to review a quote from the book Mingling Minds. So hold in mind our topic, mind is spiritual matter. And he says in Mingling Minds, he says these words, what is mind? An ancient Chinese answer could be, nobody knows. Mental functions give evidence of the mind, but the mind itself is beyond description. It is like a light in the darkness. It makes visible a variety of objects and scenes, but it itself is unknown. We can know what it is like. We cannot know wholly and completely what it is or define it. Perhaps that is why so much is written about it. But there is no precise definition of mind in our literature. Philosophers throughout history have confused mind, soul, and spirit. That is the way it is now. And that is the way it was in the early 19th century when Quimby began to investigate the ways of the mind and to find out what mind was. And so it is from the discoveries and the works of Quimby that the world understands more about mind from a spiritual perspective than ever before. And from his discoveries outgrew psychology and the works in that field. Now, what is the all-important fact that we have made from time to time in the past that makes it necessary to recall it now? Well, the fact is that to catch the inner meanings of all or any spiritual teaching, you must begin by setting aside your common sense way of reading and understanding and put on your metaphorical mindset. That's the fact that I'm reminding you of, that I need to remind you of from time to time. So to understand the spiritual meaning of mind is spiritual substance, you must stop now, redress, change your thinking, and put on your metaphorical mindset to understand it. And more than that, even, you must apply this mindset to every word and idea that you hear or that appears in writing. And then, and this is another part of that, and then, and after that, and then is critical. And then wait. And then wait for what? Wait for the teacher to kick in. You see, Aman is the facilitator, but the teacher that Aman listens to and waits to kick in is with a capital T, which is the voice of intuition in your consciousness. The voice of intuition in your consciousness that sometimes takes on the form of the Holy Spirit or the still small voice in your mind, who will reveal a different and sometimes new concept that is meaningful to you. And it evolves out of what is written, of what is said, or what is taught. It's important for me to stop and insert this as a parenthetical thought from time to time. Or you miss the meaning, or you miss the opportunity to make this fact come alive that I repeat often. This stuff is caught, not taught. So this new concept that evolves then becomes a new way of understanding an old concept. And this happens in a way that it can also at the same time be used or applied to your present need at that time, which causes a healing in your mind regarding that need. A dissolving of the belief that sustains the problem. And by the law of correspondence, your outer world automatically changes to reflect or mirror this inner change. That is the meaning of a shift in your perception, and equally an adjustment in your mental equivalent. Of Course in Miracles defines this or calls this the definition of a miracle. The definition of a miracle is a shift in your perception, an adjustment in your mental equivalent. This is not done by you, but this is the done for you through your change of concepts in your higher spiritual understanding. And this new revelation then becomes the spiritual understanding or metaphysical interpretation intended for you to catch or grasp. That understanding might be different than for you than it is for another person. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. This is the goal and aim of learning in these lessons on the theme, it is all in your mind. So, to the point, what is the it in the statement, it's all in your mind? What is the it? The it in this statement generally means that no matter what it is in life or in your life, it never changes. That it is all in your mind. Let's review that. The it in this statement, it's all in your mind, generally means that no matter what it is in your life, your problem, what you're praying for, about, or trying to change, a condition, a situation, or whatever it is, it never changes the fact that it is all in your mind. Now, this is going to be explained through this series of lessons. It's not going to come to us all at one time, but this statement looks simple, but it's not easily accepted by the mind. This can be, for many, the most difficult concept to digest in understanding and practicing the dynamics of spiritual healing. Understanding that no matter what it is all in your mind can be a difficult concept to digest, and especially in applying spiritual healing or prayer. So the Socratic question, and we know what Socratic question is, remains for us. I am suffering in pain and sickness, and medicine does not cure or heal this problem. Change this condition in my life or this situation, or remove the hindrance to answered prayer in some form in my life. And there seems to be no hope to resolve this situation by prayer. Then, what does real and unreal and sickness does not exist mean to a suffering person like me? How can I not but believe that this sickness, disease, this pain, or this problem or condition, etc., is real when I'm experiencing pain, I'm experiencing sickness? So when I say the disease, the pain is in the mind. Now, what we're doing here is quoting Quimby from the Quimby manuscripts, and Ervin Seale actually is quoting Quimby in his book, Mainly Minds, where Quimby said, so when I say the disease, when I say the pain, when I say the problem is in the mind, I mean that it does not exist anywhere else. Let's be still and digest that. I want to reread that 2 times more. Quimby said, don't get it twisted. When I say the disease is in the mind, what I mean is that it does not exist anywhere else. You may be experiencing it in your body, in your life, in your relationships, in your world somewhere, and you may be experiencing it there, but that is no evidence that it exists there. What you're experiencing has no existence. Existence can only be in another place, and that is in your 4th dimensional life. You live in 2 dimensions at the same time, the 3rd dimension and the 4th dimension of life. It exists on earth, but it does not exist in heaven. In the heaven of your life, in the 4th dimensional realm of your life, it exists, but it does not have existence anywhere else. And that's what we're learning to decode, to demystify, to understand in real practice. This understanding lights up the mind in freedom, banishes 1,000 devilish fears, and restores the mind to its kingly confidence, says Quimby. The world makes mind intelligence. I put no intelligence in the word mind at all. I make mind subject to intelligence, but there is no intelligence in mind. But now our conventional and orthodox way of thinking, we automatically think that way. We correlate mind and intelligence, and we do it just naturally, automatically. And those of us who are far more trained and know the difference and know better, we still slip into that conditioned state of mind, confusing and mind and intelligence. The world makes mind intelligence. I put no intelligence in mind, but make it subject to intelligence. Quimby's conception, and so that's the end quote of Quimby, and Ervin Seale continues to write, Quimby's conception of mind has many modern analogies. He compared it to clay, which could be fashioned by a potter. Okay, before I continue, let's remind ourselves of what the topic is. Mind is spiritual matter. And as such, we want to analogize it to clay. What is the idea here of clay? Clay can be fashioned as a potter fashions clay. It's moldable. We can change it into other forms and things. He compared it to earth, in which seeds are sown, and to compare it to earth, he compares it to soil. So what we're doing here is describing what mind is like. We're not defining mind. We're given different descriptions, illustrations of what mind is like. Mind is like clay. Mind is spiritual matter, like clay. Mind is spiritual matter, like the soil of the earth, which receives the seeds. We sow, and we're always sowing seeds into this spiritual matter. We're always sowing seeds into this soil, this spiritual matter. But we have to be careful not to allow this to be a distraction and become a shiny object to where we end up doing the opposite of what this lesson is leading us to do, and to begin to see mind as something that is visible or tangible, or tangible, do you see, or that you can touch. It is still invisible. It cannot be seen, this spiritual matter. Let's not be distracted. Today, we have used various recording devices like the phonograph, the tape recorder, the computer, etc., to analogize what mind is, or this spiritual matter. Take the computer as a good example of how mind, as Quimby defines it, works. The computer has no intelligence. So, like this computer has no intelligence, this soil has no intelligence, this clay has no intelligence, this spiritual matter, even though we can make many forms out of it, many inventions out of it, it has no intelligence, but it records and memorizes intelligence, this spiritual matter, this thing called mind. It records and memorizes intelligence. When being operated, it is always changing. Mind is always changing. This clay is always changing it, and this soil is always, changing. Information is being erased and more put in it. Seeds are being dug up and more put in it. If you put a tape recorder on record and let it run, it will pick up all the sounds and voices in its vicinity, and more than that, preserve, memorize, hold on to all of it like a hodgepodge. You put on a tape recorder. Let's think about this spiritual matter. That's what it is. It's a tape recorder. You put it on record. it stays in stuck position on record, by the way. You don't selectively put this on record off and on. This spiritual matter, this, when we're really talking about the unconscious mind, spiritual matter. We're talking about the subconscious mind, spiritual matter. We're talking about if you put a tape recorder on record and let it run, it will pick up all the sounds and voices in its vicinity and preserve the hodgepodge. Another word for hodgepodge for us is race consciousness, the thoughts of the ages. Not only all of your memories and impressions, but the memories and impressions of the ages. Every thought that has ever been thought from any age is there in this spiritual matter, in this race consciousness, in this subconscious, subjective side of the mind. This is how the mind picks up errors and accepts limitation and disease when there is a deficiency of wisdom to guide and control the process. And so you're learning to be mental scientists to control the process in your individual sphere, your life, your world. This is also the way mind records its exposure to health, strength, and beauty. End quote from Ervin Seale, Mingling Minds. Now we're going directly to Quimby, the Quimby manuscripts, and get an excerpt here from chapter 14. Chapter 14. Now, the chapter 14 topic, I think, is disease. I don't remember what its topic is. That's why I have in parentheses here, mind is spiritual matter, because we're looking at it from the context of mining out the meaning of mind is spiritual matter. He says, in these studies, Quimby speaks of mind in the ordinary sense of the term as a substance which can be changed, in which thoughts are sown as seeds. Our topic is mind is spiritual matter. Mind is put in contrast with intelligence or wisdom. Mind is not intelligence or wisdom. This intelligence is said to possess an identity or reality which mind does not have. And what we're talking about, interchangeably, he uses the term superior wisdom for intelligence, this intelligence that we're being spoken of. And we're talking about the mind of God. And when we mention the mind of God, we're talking about the superior wisdom or the intelligence of God. The term matter is used in a peculiar sense throughout to cover the processes of change attendant upon suggestion and taking place subconsciously. And so, matter. When we're giving suggestions to the subconscious mind, that subconscious mind is a spiritual matter. And it is being influenced by your thoughts. And he's using the word suggestions. Your thoughts are falling into this spiritual matter or your subconscious mind. Thoughts are things, later writers have said. He says, Quimby says, I have found that by the power of my own mind, I could change the mind of my patient and produce a chemical change in that person's body, such as dissolving a tumor. Now, the word mind is not the substance, only the name of the substance that can be changed. Now, let me admit to you that I probably read that statement 30 years ago. And when I did so, was never satisfied to my clearly understanding it spiritually. And it is not until our embarking upon the Quimby manuscripts, where we did 2-3 years ago, and we spent 18 weeks on the Quimby manuscripts, and I covered this sentence or this statement again and understood it more clearly. But you know, it has now shifted from that category of being taught to caught, because I have caught it on a higher level and understand it more clearly than I've ever understood it before. So let me read it to you again, because before I do, let me state what our topic is. Mind is spiritual matter. He says, now the word mind is not the substance. The word mind is not the substance. The word mind is only the name of the substance that can be changed. So what I want to say to you, that it is very, very well worth it for you to excerpt this sentence, put it in another place to where you can singularly meditate on this sentence alone from time to time. Ask the Holy Spirit to open your heart and mind to a clear understanding. That's what I do. That's the way I practice. To understand the inner meaning of this statement. It is powerful. It is the core essence of this topic tonight. Mind is spiritual matter. Now, the word mind is not the substance. The word mind is only the name of the substance that can be changed. The world makes mind intelligence. I put no intelligence in it, but make it subject to intelligence. So mind is the name of spiritual substance that can be changed. That concludes our lesson. That's a very, very key point for you to understand. And remember that all of the following lessons is based on this foundational concept, which is to say that mind is a concept, not a thing, not a substance, not a material, not visible nor invisible. Mind is an idea, and it is a concept. It is the name of the spiritual substance that can be changed. That's important. Saying that sounds clear. It sounds simple, but digesting it is not that easy. Digesting it, meaning it, getting it from sense to soul, getting it shifted, being shifted from taught to caught, that's not easy. And to assume that you understood clearly what I have said tonight, and that's it, not so. To get this from taught to caught requires repetition, repetition, redundancy, redundancy, hearing and hearing and hearing. To move from sense to soul, from head to heart, from taught to caught. And so in order to do this, we will be experiencing several more lessons on this topic. It's all in the mind. And some of the concepts or ideas that must be explored are continuously and reviewing sickness is not real, revisiting what is mind, exploring mind versus intelligence, understanding more clearly mind is spiritual matter. And we're going to go deep into the understanding that mind is the medium, not a medium, but the medium. And this medium is universal. Mind is the medium. The medium for what? And then we're going to continuously revisit this concept of what is disease. And what is imagination will be reviewed over and over. What is imagination? And ultimately, then where is the pain? If the pain is not in my body, if the pain is not in my leg and my shoulder or in my head or in my, where is the pain? Where is the pain? It is all in the mind. And so it is.